Yo, what is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody is good. We will not talk about the Bills debacle on Monday Night Football. I'll leave that to the boys at the main Cover One channel. What are we here for today? We're talking week number 11, must-add players on the waiver wire. Yes, it is getting extremely thin. A lot of y'all jumping ship on your fantasy football squads. Do not do it if you still have a remote chance of making the fantasy playoffs. We can absolutely get you there, but I mean, waiver wire is getting a lot thinner these days, but we got to make do as we got some bye week trouble. The Falcons, Colts, Patriots, and Saints all dealing on the bye this week. At least we got all the top teams with the Dolphins, Chiefs, and the Eagles coming back, so at least that'll give us some, help and assistance on our roster. Let's talk these running backs. For week number 11, Keaton Mitchell still on the waiver wire. I've totally believed he would have been over the 50-point threshold or 50% owned threshold at this point. Is not 35.2% ownership rate, 34.4 on the point totals right now. And you saw as the Ravens did, basically give the game away to those Cleveland Brownies. I mean, the coach did admit that they should have given the ball to Mitchell a lot more to control the clock, and he will be a fixture in this offense. That speed is far too electric to keep him on the bench. Mitchell should have his role increased as the season does wear on. Barring any health, he should be a very viable fantasy producer for us. Get him on your roster today because it is imperative based on how this offense is running in Baltimore. Devin Singletary, next one on the board. Okay, he pops off with the Houston Texans this past week versus the Bengals. 56.4 on the total on the season. Over 20 points this past week. Absolutely glorious contest for Motor. I mean, we've seen it before in Buffalo. We know what this man is capable of. Everyone's cussing down Buffalo for saying they hampered his performance. But, I mean, when you got a guy like C.J. Stroud balling like he is, there's open lanes for Singletary to gallop through. Why is Singletary not my number one priority back this week over Mitchell? Because we could see Dameon Pierce come back off his injury this week, which would limit touches once again for Devin. Maybe he already won the role. This is possible. But Devin also's got to be on your roster. 49% ownership. He could still be there in a lot of leagues. Darrell Henderson, Los Angeles Rams. Okay, they're coming off the bye week, and we could see Kyron Williams, coming off the injury reserve next week. So you likely will only get one more week kick in the can for Henderson. And if you're struggling on the bye week like a lot of people are, including myself in some leagues, Henderson is a good fill-in producer this week versus a good matchup. Ty Chandler, what did I tell y'all last week about Ty? He was a little bit down my board, but I told y'all, man, I'm a big fan of this guy. I think he can absolutely play. Loved his game at UNC. And I think I don't want to go on the limb and say he's better than an Alexander Mattison, but it's not far off. I think he's a very much a quality running back, and given the opportunity with touches, he will prove what he can do in this league, as he showed last week, finding the end zone. I like him. I think he's a great quality running back. Madison is also dealing with a concussion, so definitely watch out for that, as Chandler could get a starting nod if Madison does not clear concussion protocol. Zach Charbonnet. Okay, he almost got 10 points this past week. Good showing on limited touches. And I mean, okay, Kenny Walker is the number one back, but again, like I've been preaching all season long, you got to have at least one handcuff for your baller running back, and Charbonnet is that dude. If he does get the majority of touches, he will produce in this league, and he will showcase that, especially on the goal line. There will be lots of touchdown upside for him. So if you're dealing with an injuries, it's not going to help you out at this point, but if you're looking for that safety blanket for the to cover your bases for Kenneth Walker, the third Charbonnet is definitely one I would definitely snag off the waiver wire at this point. Antonio Gibson, he's back, with the PPR upside, but the way Sam Howell's playing, he's spreading the ball around to everybody. I think he had like 10 different wide receivers and running backs catch passes this past week, so it does make him viable in, deeper leagues in a pinch. If you require a running back, Gibson is at least giving you a decent floor for PPR upside. Tyjae Spears, not much here outside of handcuff material as well. He saw his sprinkles last week, even though Derrick Henry was locked up by that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Spears will continue to have a role. He is another great handcuff for y'all if King Henry does go down. Lower down my board is Rico Suave, and then Jerick McKinnon. I'm not really going after these guys at this point. Dwaddle was more game script because the Cowboys were blowing out the Giants, where McKinnon, maybe we do see his role increase as, the season does wear on, like we've seen from the Kansas City Chiefs in previous seasons, but I wouldn't hold my breath for McKinnon being a high-quality fantasy producer the way that Isaiah Pacheco's been running this season. Quarterback time, Josh Dobbs. How's this man under 50% at this point? He's just an absolute revelation this season. goes to the Cardinals, balls out, then has some struggle, gets traded to these Vikings, balls out 2 games in a row, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon, man. This is a perfectly tailored offense for a Josh Dobbs, 45% ownership rate, 175 points, taking on these Denver Broncos who just beat my Bills. I mean, you're killing me, Buffalo. But okay, fine. Josh Dobbs, he's got the running upside. JJ could be coming back. Addison's there. He found Hawkinson on the regular. This team is going to be good when it comes to Josh Dobbs. He's too intelligent not to make it work. He is actually better than a lot of starting caliber quarterbacks you have on your roster at this point. So if you're looking for an upgrade, I mean, definitely go get yourself a Josh Dobbs. Love for love. Jordan Love is back on my radar. Okay, it's translating back into some victories, into some losses this past week. They just can't get over that hump. There's still lots of struggle, but he did get you over 18 points this past week, so he is a good flyer against the LA Chargers defense, who hemorrhage points to quarterbacks and wide receivers. 44% ownership for Love. I would definitely snag Love if you fall on Dobbs this week as a great streaming quarterback for y'all as we enter bye week troubles. Russell Wilson versus those Minnesota Vikings. He's putting up enough points, 20 points versus the Bills. Like I've been saying all season long, after the 70-point thrashing from the Miami Dolphins, the Broncos have seemingly figured it out enough to at least put up some fantasy points for a Russell Wilson. You can't hate that whatsoever. Yes, their offense is anemic at times, but there is potential possibility that he will be able to at least give you good fantasy upside. Will Levis struggled last week. I mean, he's learning on the fly. Tape is out on the man. They're starting to attack him in different ways, and this was to be expected by me. I didn't foresee a 40-point showing every single week from this guy, so it's going to take some time. He's got a cannon of an arm, and at least everybody is viable in this offense with a Will Levis that does provide some good upside. Taking on a Jags team that was punched in the mouth this past week, they're going to look to rebound and make the rookie pay for their mistakes against the 49ers. Baker Mayfield taking on those 49ers. And Bake Show's been decent enough, man. Anywhere from 13 to 18 points, you can absolutely trust Baker in a pinch if you require a quarterback on the stream. Because, I mean, he's not an upgrade for anybody, but if you have troubles on the bye week or injuries to your quarterback, Mayfield has absolutely been serviceable to at least get you a good floor. Matthew Stafford apparently is coming back off the injury report, and he should be suiting up as per Sean McVay this week. So definitely watch the injury report before you pick up Stafford. But, I mean, this will absolutely uplift Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua as we move forward against Seattle Seahawks defense that has, ups and downs with the best of times. We saw what Sam Howell was able to do to them last week. Stafford should be able to at least nickel and dime them down the field to get you decent points. His floor, Matthew Stafford, has been quite capped this year, so I'm not expecting a great deal of points. At least it's decent enough to get you through the week, man. Wide receiver time. This is where the bread and butter is on the waiver wire still at this point. Yes, a lot of top-end names are not here anymore, but Noah Brown is definitely one of the top priorities this week. It's going to be interesting to see how this offense is utilizing this wide receiver core. There's so many weapons on this team, but you got to believe Noah Brown has absolutely carved out himself a role, so it should be Tank Dell, Nico, and Noah Brown as your 1, 2, 3, so he's definitely in need of ownership. 24.5% ownership rate, 60.3 points basically gained in these last 2 weeks for Noah Brown, so you can absolutely snag him, play him in your flex, and I think we could absolutely do that without any fear of issue, man. Josh Downs, my guy, down for downs. And I get it, man. They're on the bye week this week. He's not going to help you this week. So if you're struggling for wins, probably not going to be the direction you want to go. But if you are a team ascending to the fantasy football playoffs, Josh Downs is still on your waiver wire at 53% ownership rate. So he still could be there for y'all. He needs to be owned and at least put on the bench for this part because, yes, he is dealing with a knee injury, but he's been far too good, far too dynamic. And if he gets that knee cleared up, man, he is going to be good down the stretch for us. PBR upside is here, and the big play potential has been here for Josh Downs, 85 points. He's my guy, man. I've been preaching it up all offseason long during the draft process. When he was at UNC with Sam Howell, Drake May, I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal the second part of the season for a Josh Downs. Romeo Doubs, he's on the list, and I mean, okay, yes, it is hit and miss, but he's got the best chemistry with a Jordan Love at this point. He is the true wide receiver one on this offense. Christian Watson is basically the afterthought where Jaden Reed is taking all the other targets from him. So at this point, I feel the trust in a Romeo Doubs, I think it's very important that you get him on this roster right now because at least he's finding end zone potential and Jordan Love is still looking in his direction. Brandon Cooks, another one. Okay, can we trust Brandon Cooks versus better teams? It's still yet to be seen, but I mean, versus the weaker teams, we can absolutely trust a Brandon Cooks, man. He went off this past week as the Giants just can't cover a damn anything at this point, for lack of a better term, but Cooks absolutely repaid everybody who took the chance and put him in the flex spot last week. OBJ, he's back 2 games in a row with a touchdown pass. Yes, the target share is not abundant, but at least he's finding his way into the end zone. So if you're stuck at the wide receiver spot this week, OBJ, you could do a lot worse than OBJ on Thursday Night Football. Pop Douglas, yes, the Patriots are on the bye week, so I'm not rushing to the waiver to go grab Pop, but I mean, he's been making plays. If you're in a good point system, full PPR league, he gave you a very good week this past week. Half PPR, not so much. But, I mean, the way that the Patriots are moving forward, who's going to be the starting quarterback? There's a lot of moving parts that we got to question. Pop Douglas is just on the waiver wire because points are points, but I'm not rushing to go grab his services at this point. Reed from the Green Bay Packers, like I'm saying, he's got 83 points where Dobbs got 86 points. And, I mean, there's opportunity here. 18% ownership for Reed. I told y'all in the offseason, I do believe that the slot will be home for this man, and once he does figure it out, he could be one of the better slot weapons in this league. Jordan Love has got to be better on this field, and once he does, they got a very good wide receiver core that they can exploit against NFL defenses. Reed is definitely one of my favorites. You just got to temper the expectations because it will be hit and miss for a week-to-week basis. Check out which teams are bad against the slot wide receivers, and then you'll have your answer for Jordan Reed. Quentin Johnston, he finally got himself into the end zone. Like I said, he's a very good talent, but there's still a lot of rounding out for this man. Maybe they get him more involved as they move forward. Lots of injuries to this wide receiver core in LA. They keep losing contests. He's got to absolutely get off the jams. He's got to find his wheels, and he's got to get separation. He did make a nice route on the touchdown grab last week, but it was, again, far and few between. I want to see a lot more coming from QJ before I trust him in fantasy football. Likewise with Jameson Williams, I told y'all to get him on the roster. He scored a touchdown that was called back on a penalty this past week. Absolutely hurts because I do believe it's coming. I really do, man. It's far too long already. They're coming off the bye. They get the victory versus the Chargers. They include him early on in the contest. He gets foiled by a flag. I think once this man starts to pop off just a little bit more, the confidence will continue to grow. Jameson Williams could have a very good final 6 weeks of the regular season. Yes, it's a stretch, okay, but I'm just saying I'm still not out on JMO, and I think he's absolutely going to pay dividends eventually, just we don't know when it's going to be. He's a definite flyer on my bench if you got room. Michael Wilson for these Arizona Cardinals now that Kyler Murray is back, and I'll admit when I'm wrong. I thought rust was going to be very big for Kyler Murray. It was not, man. Even with the release of the new Call of Duty, Kyler looked great this past week. No issues with the knee, no issues with rust, no issues with mobility. Kyler looked great, so now that uplifts everybody in this Arizona Cardinals offense, including a Michael Wilson. 65 points, only 9.3% ownership rate. Wilson is definitely one that, we'll see how it does go in this offense, but, I mean, they got lots of weapons with Hollywood, with Rondale Moore, with Trey McBride now starting to make some noise. Wilson could still find his way to be lesser covered and making big plays for a Kyler Murray. Elijah Moore, everybody's down for Moore. Okay, it's his first touchdown as a Brown this past week. Can we trust it overall in fantasy football? I'm still of the opinion to say no, I am not doing it. He's just on the notable list in deeper leagues for me at this point. There should be way more PPR upside for this man, but there is not, and that's the problem for me. For what a guy he's supposed to be doing well at, he's just not getting the ball. So, I mean, for me, I think we could find better options than an Elijah Moore, but I understand. When I like his game, I think he's a fabulous talent, but just in this offense, and with Deshaun Watson dealing with an injury again, we'll see how this offense does transpire. And Kyle Phillips, he is on the bottom of my list. PPR upside, depending on if Treylon Burks does come back. He almost got himself a touchdown this past week, which would have lifted his point totals to good numbers. And I mean, it's like the, super slot weapon that can make plays. Kyle Phillips is definitely one to keep on your radar. Tight end time. Let's finish this thing off. Trey McBride. He's been killing it, man, and I think, like I said, he was one of my favorite tight ends coming out of his draft class, and finally now with Kyler Murray, it was a good plan, and I fully expected the safety blanket usage, like I said in Start Sit, to start Trey McBride this past week from Kyler Murray. Coming back, trying to get, acclimated to the offense, be more comfortable. Trey McBride repaid all of y'all with a good point total, 53.9%, so he's likely gone off your waiver in, very competitive leagues, but in others, he still might be there, 65 25 points. If he's still there, you absolutely pick up a Trey McBride. Pat Freiermuth, the Muth, he's coming back from IR, and we got to put him on. Your tight end is extremely skimpy this week with all the bye weeks also, but the Muth is potentially going to be coming back this week. Practice window should be open up for him this week, so let's hope he gets back on the field as we're struggling for tight ends. 36% ownership, only 21 points because he went on IR with that hamstring injury, but he is a favorite target of Kenny Pickett, small hands Pickett, and I mean, he should be able to get right back on the field and be that nice safety blanket for Kenny to help round out this offense with more balance in the pass game. I still like the Pat Freiermuth, the Muth, to at least give us high-end touchdown upside for tight ends. Tyler Higbee, they're coming off the bye week. He might be one of the best options this week for us at the tight end spot as the Rams get Matthew Stafford back. We'll see. It's been very hit and miss for Higbee. But I like the matchup this week. I think it is very good for Higbee to potentially give us something decent. Maybe he finds his way into the end zone. I think that's kind of where we're banking on. Touchdown upside and less PBR work. So we'll see how it goes. But Higbee definitely on my radar this week with a good matchup. Luke Musgrave, he's been finding his way to more targets with Jordan Love. I do like to see it. It's a very youthful offense, but they got a lot of very talented pass catchers, okay? With Dobbs, Watson, Reed, and Musgrave, they should be able to be doing damage. Still lots of dropped balls for Jordan Love, missed targets for Love. So they'll figure it out eventually. They're far too good, on paper and talent-wise for me to suggest otherwise. This week, Musgrave is definitely an option, but temper the expectations. Cade Otton, similarly, 1 point this past week, not good, man. You'd hope that they would start spreading the ball after a great week versus the Houston Texans. Did not happen. So Cade Otton is one of these guys. He's completely matchup play appeal. If the matchup is no good, you move away from him because he's not going to give you any upside because 1 point would absolutely cripple you in fantasy football. Ty Conklin with a Zach Wilson, the Cougar Killer. It is not good, but for the Jets, but it's decent for Conklin. 52 points right now. He's at least utilized in this offense enough to get you 6 points. Half PPR, and that's decent enough for tight ends at this point. Not the high-end upside we're looking for, but at least you're getting 6 to 8 is not terrible for tight ends this season. So if you're really struggling, the Conklin is definitely an option, not one I'm again rushing to the wire to grab, but he's definitely an option. Michael Mayer is on the list. You got to hope that these Las Vegas Raiders are going to be utilizing him more. He's a beast, man. You saw that you got Moss Appeal in that end zone scoring touchdowns. You got to find this man more on the regular, and it will absolutely open up everybody else in this pass game. Mayer, once they figure this out, he is going to be a phenomenal tight end in this league. No kidding about that. I'm a huge fan of Michael Mayer. And Jake Stoll from these Philadelphia Eagles. Without a Dallas Goedert, are they going to even use the tight end spot this week? They might just go and default to A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and the running backs. It's very possible, but we'll see how it goes. He's on my watch list right now. Do not pick up Stoll at this point, but for sleeper appeal, there is potential. He finds his way into the end zone because nobody's going to be believing he's going to be a viable option this week. There is potential in Stoll also, but there you have it. That is week number 11, waiver wire must-add players. Like I said, it's getting skimpy out there, but at least we have the opportunity to, fulfill our roster just a little bit more as we get closer to the fantasy playoffs. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts, and we'll see you next time. I am out.